And good Wednesday afternoon. My name is Ryan Belmore. I'm the owner and publisher of What's Up Noop. It is just after 1:30 p.m. Mr. Frank Prosnitz from What's Up Noop joins me. Hi, Frank.
How you doing, Ryan?
It's been a while.
Yeah. Things going well?
Things are well, and we are going to talk about music today. And it's always a great day to talk about music.
Sure.
And you have lined up and invited a very special guest of ours.
Greg Abate, who a Rhode Islander, born raised in Woonsocket. He's a terrific alto sax player, jazz alto sax player. Regularly, he's listed on among the top alto sax players in the polls by both Jazz Times and Downbeat. And his recent album, Greg Abate, Magic Dance, the music of Kenny Barron. I don't know if anybody can see this, but that's the album, and it has gotten some great reviews, great plays. Number one on I think it's Jazz Week on the charts. Also a terrific review in Jazz Times, a pick of the week. So having some great success with us. But it's great to welcome Greg.
Hi, Frank.
That's not Greg. Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah. Hi, guys.
Hey, Greg. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm just getting over the weekend. It was my birthday, and my girlfriend Carrie always has all these surprises. I keep running from one place to another, so I'm recovering from my birthday. It's cool.
Excellent. My first question is going to be a quick one. Tell us about the art behind you.
Okay. Hey, that's good. That's Birdland. 1993. I was playing at Birdland in West Side Manhattan with Mark Soskin on piano, Harvey Swartz at the time, and Shingo Corneal, and it was done by an artist in the audience doing it live. So her name is Nash, Emily Nash. Yeah, so that was done right there on the spot, and she sold it for me for a moderate price, and I really liked it. And she did a couple of other ones since. So, she's passed, unfortunately, but that was like 93.
Birdland, a great venue in New York, continues to be a great venue.
Yeah, the new venue is on I think it's on 47th, 48th Street or 52nd Street, but this was done. This was way up on the west side, 101 in the west side of Manhattan.
Greg, for people who don't know you, talk about you were brought up in Woonsocket. How did you get involved in music? How did you get involved in jazz? How did you get involved with wind instruments? It's not only the saxophone; it's the flute.
Yeah, flute, and also all the saxophones actually. Well, it was to make a brief explanation. I think it was in the 6th grade, and someone came to my house. My mom was doing some ironing in the den, and we had a glass door. So I was there, and this man was there, and he had cases under his arms with instruments, as I found out. One was a trombone, one was a trumpet, and one was a clarinet, and he demonstrated them all, and I ended up starting on clarinet in the school studies on Saturday morning with about 40 other clarinet kids. And we did like an hour lesson every Saturday. So I started on clarinet, and when I went through high school, I switched on to the alto saxophone, and then going to Berklee College of Music, I stayed with the alto, and went on to Los Angeles when I joined the Ray Charles Orchestra. And then I started to play flute with Ray Charles Band with the alto, because the music and the arrangements, most times in big bands and ensembles, have different instruments in the reeds. They call them doubles. Like you might have to play soprano on 8 measures and then switch back to the alto. So I had to play some flute in that. So I had to shed that, and I had bought a flute and tried to get it together really quickly, but it was kind of impossible to learn the flute in like a week and a half, So the other guys next to me would play my flute parts because they weren't playing. And Ray didn't know.
Bring me back to the beginning again. If I recollect, your mother didn't want you to play the clarinet, but you didn't want to play the clarinet. You wanted to play a different instrument.
You remember that. I didn't want to go there, but what the story is, I wanted to shorten the story, but I wanted to play the trombone. And she said, "You're not playing that. You can play that." And she's pointing to the clarinet. So being like in the 6th grade and being like obeying your parents, I said, "Okay." I had no idea, but then I got addicted to the clarinet right away. It was a new instrument, and when you open it up, it has that smell of new. Yet it had the cork grease. It's the smell of the cork grease was really kind of like drew me into it. And I'll never forget that first day. It was really incredible. Time has flown so far.
How many albums at this point?
Well, gee, I would say 23.
And this, of course, some of the ones that are most memorable are those with Phil Woods, the great clarinetist from Pennsylvania. But Phil was tremendous, and you certainly had some great albums with him and performances with him.
Yeah, it's really been a great career, and I remember you booking me and Phil at the Odeon Theater in East Greenwich, which is a joy. And if you see, there's one album here, you can see me and Phil there, and then on top is the one Kindred Spirits was at Chan's. So I did 2 recordings with Phil and had some good journeys with him in the car, driving like 8 hours to Cleveland, say from New York, and driving back and then getting back late at night. And he'd say, "You got to come in and have an espresso." I'd be in Phil Woods' kitchen like at 3:30, 4 in the morning, he said, "You got to have this before you drive back." He says, "Hey, try this out." He was just a regular guy. And of course he was my mentor, like most of us guys, and like all of a sudden I'm driving him in my car, it's cool. It's great.
No, and I had the opportunity to meet Phil, and he was quite an individual. Who's two performers impressed me incredibly with their dedication. That no matter what their physical conditions, they were on stage. Herbie Mann, the great flute player, who at Jazz Fest down in New Orleans, I was told was up on stage with his Oxygen playing, and Phil Woods the same when he was at the Odeon.
Yeah, he was playing strong, because being a horn player, you have an advantage. I was told by my doctors, because our lungs are so exercised in that they have that tenacity to withstand the the diminishing of being able to breathe as well as you would normally breathe. So that's why Phil could still play, because he had strong lungs. But in the end, because he had come down with pneumonia again, it was sort of his demise after a couple of years after that, which is like really kind of surprising and also frightening for any human being to get pneumonia at 83 years old,
Greg, you played with how long with Ray Charles?
Two different years, 73 and 74. So I don't know how many years. It was several months in each year, so it wasn't exactly 2 years, but it was probably a good whole 11, 12 months between.
And I'm sure people wonder what kind of a guy was Ray Charles. How was he to work with?
He was like an iconic figure in the sense that being there, sitting in his band, with him playing like 3 or 4 feet away from you in the sax section with the piano. You just like, as I was 27 and, I was kind of struck by it, and I thought he was very, very genius with his music. And I was admiring him on his ethics of being so strict with all he could hear every note and every part going on, so, and he wasn't the most friendliest guy all the time, but he had a wicked sense of humor, and he was very, very into the music. So that's what I got from Ray, and it helped me to learn about playing music. If you really want to do something, you have to do it 110%. You can't just do something and not, like anything you do in life, you have to do it to the max. I see Ryan there, but I'm not talking to him.
It's okay, Greg. I'm while Frank's asking some good questions, I pulled up a good one. We were speaking of Birdlands, which is the photo behind you, and we go all the way back to 1991 to Greg here. And I wasn't asking questions because I was so admired by this album cover.
Oh, you were? Wow, you like that?
Yes, I was going through some of your old album covers in here and just looking at the different years. This is on gregabadi.com, by the way. You can find all of these great albums and you can purchase them, as well as you can do digital downloads. I'll be your pump man, Greg. But I was laughing at how the different albums, the designers, and I just find them fascinating. Their art, and I was having a good time looking at them all.
Yeah, I was remember when Bob, that one there, when it came up, I said, I don't play bass clarinet. And they put me with a bass clarinet with that, that cartoon thing. I could dig that, but I said, why did you put that? And they said, well, the person that did the artwork didn't know the difference between a saxophone and a clarinet. I said, oh, okay. Just like Bop City live at Birdland. When it came out, the first pressing, they had Bob, as in Robert, Bob City, Bob Lives. And I said, well, I do hope Bob lives forever, but it's B.O.P. And they said, oh my God. Okay, so they have these people, the innocent people that are younger than 30 years old, like doing the liner things and designing, and they said, this must be a mistake. He must have meant B.O.B. What is Bob? I mean, that's a mistake. So
How do they? What's the process of designing a cover?
I don't have any control over it. They usually just do it. What I do is record. They pay me to record and do the album, and I've been doing my own liner notes because I find I really like to communicate with the disc jockeys and the people that read about what really is that music is about. Because when someone else does your liner notes, he or she does not know the inner feelings and what it goes into it. So I do the liner notes now, and I just find that's the one thing they let me do, and they like the idea because the disc jockeys all say, gee, Greg, we really like to know what you've done with these tunes, and it's so good to read about what you do, about how you planned the tune or arranged it. In all respect, a lot of people that review are not always musicians. So they review something, and respectfully saying, there's errors in what it is because they're just not. They don't know what I meant.
And my guess is sometimes they overreach to try and make themselves sound a little more knowledgeable than they really are.
Yeah, and I can understand that human nature, but that's so Ryan. That's the only thing I do other than record and mix and stuff like that.
Well, speaking of reviewers, we have one of our own here at What's Up Noop, and this of course, his comments, of course, are right out of are right and perfect. Great new album, 5 stars. Yep, that's it. That's all we need, right? And yep, Ken writes for What's Up Noop.
Ken is a knowledgeable writer.
Yes, he will appreciate that.
I wasn't talking about everyone. It's just people that without mentioning names, but I mean, I've been recording like a couple of dozen recordings in my life, and there's even been more that haven't been really on the market because they're bootlegged or they're somewhere that just recorded and then they press them up, but they're not on my site formally. But it's cool.
Besides your recordings, besides your playing, you are a prolific writer. Tell us what goes into that. Tell us what motivates you when you begin to write a tune.
Well, it's different ways I start, and I could just be like I am today here by myself. I go downstairs to my room where my piano is, and I'll sit there. And since COVID, it has been a different experience because I came back from Kentucky on March 13th, 2020, sorry. And I just said, well, now I'm home. All my gigs are canceled. And so from then on, I started to write. I wrote 138 etudes, which are like music that just goes on, and you would read with it. A student would look at it and learn how to read, get his reading better. And then The tunes I would write normally, I would play the piano and just play some chord changes, and I hear melodies in my head or wherever I hear it, and I would just start writing down the melody, and then I would just like sit there and just meditate with that for hours. Sometimes a tune takes like a half an hour or an hour to write. Other tunes take like a couple of days, and then you just say, "I give up on this one," and you start writing another one. And in writing another one, you can see that there's remnants from the one that you didn't like. It just comes into the new one, and it comes out to be better. And I've written hundreds and hundreds of songs, and they're all. I can see my style has developed, in them.
Do you try to convey any kind of a message through your music?
Yeah, I'm one for peace and love. I mean, that's what I'm into. And my music is that's it, because I really like life and the way you try to help your fellow brothers and sisters. And my music has been that vehicle for me because I reach so many people. I play in Europe and all over the place, and playing in Russia, and you see the people, they're sitting there smiling, and you're playing. You say, that's something that is good, And I'm sure you guys do the same thing. You bring something to the table, and I think that's what my parents would have wanted for me, to do something for someone else. Always do something good if you can. And my music.
Greg,
you spend a good portion of your time, or at least every other year, playing a number of clubs in England, and their process is different. They have the actual jazz clubs, meaning that people are members, right?
That's correct. Yes, sir. Yeah. Like Plymouth Jazz Club. I played there a couple of times. It's right on the Embarcadero there, where the Pilgrims departed from there the last time they tried to leave England after several attempts, because the captains of the ships would steal the money and they wouldn't take them, and they would say, "Show up here and we'll go." And so that was the final place. And I'm playing jazz in this club in Plymouth, and I'm looking out at that pier, and I'm thinking, okay, I'm an American, and that's where the Pinto and the other ships left, and the Nina. And so there's a club in every village. It could be small or larger. And so if you're playing in Plymouth and you go down to Devon, Torquay, there's another club there. And there's members that populate that club. And they bring in artists from wherever they want to, and according to their budget. And they'll present jazz. It might be once a week. It might be bi-monthly or once a month, something like that. But there's a club in, Nottingham. Of course, London has several. Chatham. Peterborough, Torquay, and different places.
Is that a system that's also popular throughout Europe, or is that just unique to England?
It's like Europe. Europe is like that. France, Italy, Spain is. I remember years ago, many years ago, Candid Records. After I did that recording Straight Ahead, they called me up. It was in the morning, and it was a really welcome call. They said, "We have a tour set up for you in Spain, and would you consider bringing Jerome Richardson as your guest?" And I said, "Of course. That guy is, Mel Lewis Jazz Orchestra, alto player, great composer." And we had these gigs in Spain for there was 12 gigs, and you'd be in the mountains. We drive up these hills, get off, go in these beautiful theaters you never expect to be there, and you do the concert, and you go to another town the next day, which would be maybe 100 miles from where you were, So it's a lot there. And I wonder. I know in the United States, it's not such that even thinking about Providence, Rhode Island, there used to be quite a bit of jazz there in the 50s, 60s, 70s, and then the remnants in 80s. But then it's diminished quite a lot, and so there's not much happening. Even in Newport, with the festival, I mean, that's about all, really.
Is jazz losing its popularity, or is it just that a younger generation isn't exposed enough?
I think it's getting more selective, in fact, because like people have to know about it to present it well, you know, and like sometimes you go play a gig and they say it's a jazz room. We're going to start doing some jazz, and you have no idea where you go to another town and it's totally different. They don't have the idea of the knowledge of like, you know, the innovators that made the jazz. Like, I'll use like names like Charlie Parker and Dizzy Gillespie and those type of players. There's a line between the smooth jazz, which is like kind of not as serious, intense jazz as real jazz, and so they go in with that sort of like. To me, it's like kind of a watered down type of music that doesn't really burn the soul, you know, like real jazz, it burns your soul when you play it. You can't, you know. So at my age now, like if someone said, "Can you do this gig and do this?" and I say, "I really don't play that way because I don't feel it, and I would be useless to try to play your gig." You know, I would rather you get someone that knows the style and embraces it. You know.
One of the things that impresses me about jazz, it's really a music of improvisation. How much does that come into play when you're on stage, and how does that kind of meld into the general theme of the song?
100%, Frank, because the theme of the song is the melody and the content of the song, which is the shortest part of the whole thing in each tune. You state the melody, and each player that plays it has a different interpretation of how to phrase the melody and what kind of dynamics he or she would put in there. And then after that is played, the solos of jazz are based on the chords, which are letter names like A major 7, D minor, like E flat. These things are through the tune. So in each one of those letters, there's a particular scale or many scales that can be played within that. And to play a solo and playing like do, re, mi, fa, sol, la, ti, do, that's not a solo. You have to use those scale tones and make shape a melody and make another song in fast. It's a fast composition. That's what jazz is. When you play another melody on top of the chords, you're creating another melody. And those notes actually have to be right on tonality, or else they sound disjointed, or they sound wrong, or it'll hurt your ears. That sounds bad, you know. But some people hear differently. So I noticed that some people hear something that is a wrong note, and they think it sounds better than something that's the right note. I noticed that in the audiences sometimes. I said to a
Yeah,
person in the front row, I heard it was a woman, and she was like cringing at the last note, which was a great note. You know, it's been played. It's like, you know, you would say it was the great note because it's like valid theoretically. And so I said, "Oh, I noticed that you cringed on that. You didn't like that note, miss it." And she says, "Oh no, it sounded bad." I said, "How about this note?" So I said, "Guys, play the chord. I played another note." And she said, "Yeah, that sounds better to me." And that note was totally a wrong note that you never would want to play. And she liked that better. So that teaches you that you have to just go and do what you do and not get caught up in opinions that much, even on reviews. And I think that if you get a great review, you know, I've got many of those, and also I've had maybe one that I didn't like that much, but the other ones are great. But you can't think that, oh wow, you can't get a big head about stuff. You know what I mean, guys? You have to let it go and go on and say, hey, that's in the bank, whatever it is. And things come about, you don't even know when they come from. Sometimes say, gee, I'm not working, I'm no gigs, and then all of a sudden you get an email saying, oh, I'd like you to play here or there. And I saw that review, and that I drew my attention to you. Yeah. So
how much of your performance is inspired by your audience?
100%. 100%. Yeah.
Greg, I have a quick question. You mentioned that you wrote hundreds of songs over the last COVID era. A lot of people are talking about a baby boom happening during COVID. How about a music boom? How about a CD boom, an album boom? Do you think we're going to see a lot more albums and records and digital music and a lot more music coming out over the next couple months because all these musicians were trapped at home?
I sure do, Ryan. I do. And in fact, I'm starting to get busier now with things that are coming up for myself. And I'm planning to record again in February. I don't know if it's going to be with Whaling City, but probably will be. But I'm going to be doing some plans, And people are doing a lot of these new streaming gigs. And I think that, I played at Chan's in Woonsocket Saturday night. And there was actually over 120 people there in the audience. It was pretty packed. And when I walked in, I just thought, well, that was a dream. I've been in COVID. No one had a mask on. I mean, everybody's like laughing and doing stuff and feeling like everything's fine. So it's like sort of like that whole COVID thing was a race. But in that time, I did do a lot of writing and practicing and thinking about my career. I did lose a lot of gigs in Europe. I lost July and November last year, and this July I had booked, and that's totally canceled too. That was like 2.5 weeks of gigs.
Wow. Bookings coming back?
Well, I'm going back, for October 26th. I'm going to fly to England and then play there until the 22nd of November.
Yeah, so. Do you need a roadie?
Yes.
I already signed up. We already talked about this.
It would be a pleasure to have you guys. I wish I could pay you to do it, but.
Greg, tell us about the album, Magic Dance, and the music of Kenny Barron.
Yes, sir. It was like a great experience to write the arrangements for this. And started out, I met Kenny Barron in 1996, and we recorded an album. He was in the trio that the record company arranged with Rufus Reid and Kenny Barron, Ben Riley, that was piano, bass, and drums, and then the great late Claudio Roditi on trumpet, and that was called Bop Lives. That was that one, not Bop City. It was called Bop Lives, and that's the one with the black cover with me and with the alto clarinet. So years passed, and of course I was recording for Whaling City Jazz, and I mentioned to Neil that I'd like to do another recording with Kenny Barron because I knew him, and he was playing in Camden at the Opera House in June of 2019, and I was playing there too before him with my group. And so he said, well, see what he says, ask him if he'd like to do something. And when I was there, I asked Kenny, and he said, oh, Greg, how you doing? I hadn't seen him since 96. And he said he would like to do that and have the record company call his agent. So then we got the tunes all together that he sent me, and I picked 14 out of 20 songs he sent, and I arranged 14 of them for the session, which would be in May of last year. And it got canceled because of COVID. And then since May to September of last year, I rewrote the whole arrangements again because I had that time to have second thoughts about each arrangement. I get up and I think, oh, let me change this chord here, or let me make this a lengthier section, or whatnot, was whatever I would think. So I redid all the 14 tunes again. And I said, man, I hope this session happens in September because I don't want to have to do it again because I know how I am. You'll change. And now we did record it in September, and it's finished now, of course, last year. So,
that's great. It's a great album. I've listened to it. I think it's among your best, Greg.
Oh, thanks, Frank. Thank you.
I do know that we need to touch on this certainly before we finish, and that's your affinity for cats. You seem to find them behind walls.
Yes, Yeah, I was in Florida years ago before I even knew you. I was coming from California to playing in my West Palm Beach, and my girlfriend at the time was going to join me there, and she had a cat named Pasha, and like the cat got stuck in the hotel in West Palm Beach, and they had to knock the wall down to get the cat out. It was quite embarrassing, but they thought, animals, you can protect them, and the cat was crying in the back of the wall, and they said, well, we can't let that cat die there. So, but then again, in East Greenwich, many years later, when I went by the Odeum with my wife at the time, we came in there, and I believe we went in. I was trying to get a gig at the Odeum, and I think you were there talking to you, and there was a cat that was in the back of the wall, the Odeum, which I think you had the wall broke down too, and we got the cat, and I kept the cat as a pet for like 15 years, you know. So,
Wow.
and I've been writing etudes in like since March, and some of the tunes are called Catatonic, Kitties on Parade, Cat Paws, Cat Tails. It goes on and on. It's like it's a whole thing of cats, Frank.
Sounds great. I can't wait to listen to the album.
Yeah, it's gonna be good, man.
It's going to be the cat's meow.
That's it. That's a title. Title.
There you go.
Catatonic.
Another cat in the wall.
Yeah.
Yeah. Greg, where can we get the album?
Well, you can get it. I have them on my website. If you go there, and you could just PayPal there. It's a double album, so it's $25 for the double, includes postage and handling. So it's gregabate.com. You can order it, and like my name is like spelled Abate, and it's pronounced Abate. But I have one other dilemma with that, like Alexa, right? If you go to Alexa, play Greg Abate, she says she doesn't know, because I have to say Greg Abate. Like, Alexa, play Greg Abate. Alexa, play Greg Abate Quartet. You know what I mean? Like, I can't. Alexa, stop. Alexa, stop. Okay, but I mean, I have to like tell the audience now that if you want to listen to me on Alexa, you have to use the horrible pronunciation of my name. I don't know if there's a way that maybe you guys know how to teach her to say it the right way.
I don't. I have a question for you. A song just popped up when you asked for that. How long did it take you to know what song that was?
Da, 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 da. Oh, I know that was from my new album. That's from my new album. It's like Kenny Barron. Magic. I think it's Magic Dance.
Yeah, I couldn't hear it, but I was just wondering how long it takes you. Yeah.
Right. I get it right away.
Yeah.
The first couple of notes. Sometimes
Awesome.
I'm listening to Eric Jackson. He's been playing me like a lot of local DJs and NPR, and like I've got the phone on and I'm listening, and like I hear a couple of notes come in. I said, he's playing Magic Dance. So then put it on. So then so I can tell right away.
That's great. Album, music, digital downloads, reviews, shows, all of that is on gregabate.com, and you can find it all there, and it's right there at the bottom as well.
Yeah.
Well, Greg Abate. No, I'm only kidding.
Yeah, no, see, I got to fix that, Frank. Maybe I can find someone to help pronounce it differently to make it. But I'm playing a show in Newport again. Frank got me in there a couple of times. It's September 11th, but what a date! It's at the Newport Playhouse, and we're there. It's called Jonathan and Audrey have booked it as Surf and Turf Jazz with Greg Abate Quartet. It's on September 11th.
Excellent.
That's great.
Yeah, I'm sure that he'll be getting that to you. Ryan, do you have my recording, or do you have?
I think we may have. I know. I'll have to look. I have all sorts of stuff everywhere. But Whaling City may have already forwarded it over to me. Or Ken may have it for me, or Frank might have it for me. So we'll make sure I have a copy of it.
Oh, let me know. Yeah, this is great. So is this on a recording we're doing here today, or is
We're
this
doing it live.
It's live and recorded.
Yeah, so it'll be up on the website after we're done. So
All right. Good.
Greg, I have one more. Any thoughts on records? Putting anything on records, or are you sticking to CDs and digital downloads?
Well, it's not up to me. It's the record company. I mentioned to them. They said, it's really kind of very expensive to put them on the vinyl, and then distributing them. It's like a whole nother big ball of money,
Yeah, I hear you. I just see records coming back and record player sales, and just wondering if you're looking that way again.
I like it. My only LP ever was my Fusion album done in 1981. It was Without Boundaries, and Without Boundaries was the name of it, dedicated to the earth and the people to live in peace with one channel of positive energy. That was my motive, my thing in the back. And the front of the album has all universe on it, right? Stars and stuff. And it's Without Boundaries. And the designer of the LP cover put a border around the front, like an inch border around the universe in the end of the cover. And I said, that's not appropriate. This is Without Boundaries. Why don't you put a borderline there? And she says, oh, well, I thought it looked better. I said, well, no, it doesn't really do the job. So I lived with it. But I thought it was kind of ironic to see. That's another thing. Put the bass clarinet instead of the alto. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Greg, it's
Frank,
been
anything else?
I know I'm good. You good, Ryan?
Oh,
I am good, and I appreciate it. And Greg, thanks for joining us today.
gee, thanks for having me. This is great. What's up, Newport? I've never been on the show before, and I hope that you guys stay well and have a good time. I hope to see you in Newport again sometime. Well, probably the only gig I have is September 11th in Newport.
Well, hopefully we'll see you before then or then. So
Yeah, Greg,
Cool.
thank you very much.
Frank, thanks a lot for dinner last weekend and lunch and inviting me on the show here, Ryan.
No, it's always great. We occasionally meet up at the Italo American Club in Providence, and it's always fun. And you know what, Ryan, we'll get you up there, and the three of us will go to lunch up at the Italo American
Now we
Club.
got to get Ryan there. Thanks,
I got to
Ryan.
leave the island.
Yeah, you have to leave the island.
Oh,
Yeah, you can go by car. You can swim. You can go by boat.
All right.
Only go when it's not raining. Don't drive in Rhode Island when it's raining.
That's it. All right, Greg. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Greg.
All right, Alexa, play Greg Abate.
Thank you.
All right, Frank.
Yeah, that was fun.
All right.
Greg is a great for those. Greg is a terrific musician. He does some stuff with the saxophone on this. Some of the mixing he's done is pretty incredible. So I urge anybody to have an opportunity to listen to Magic Dance, the music of Kenny Barron.
And say nice things because he's still watching below. So we only have good things to say about this new CD. But you can pick it up and learn more about his music, his shows, gregabati.com right there at the bottom. We want to thank Greg. If anybody missed this, only caught a portion of it, you can find it on whatsupnoop.com. And we'll continue. Actually, tomorrow, we will keep the interview with musicians going. We have Newport String Project joining Ken Abrams and I at 7 p.m. tomorrow night. And we'll talk about a show that they have coming up in Newport this weekend.
Great.
All right. Thanks, Mr. Prosnitz. We will chat with you
Thank
soon.
you.